Hello, everyone. Welcome. We can't see you. Jim is officially blind, and I can't see you either. So we're going to do our best. It's great to be back. I'm Carrie Hauser, president of Colorado Mountain College. I was here last year for the inaugural event of GlenX, and it's great to see that this is an event that hopefully has some lasting power. Do I have a clicker for some photos? Okay. All right. So I'm going to take you on a quick little journey about Jim's philanthropy and in the Roaring Fork Valley, and then I'm going to ask him a few questions. And then if we have a little time, maybe we can have you all answer a few questions. So let's see. Bottom button. Okay. So you might ask what brought Jim to the Roaring Fork Valley. I think it's fair to say there were two things that brought Jim to the Roaring Fork Valley. One was a lovely lady named Connie Calaway, and the other was the Aspen Institute. So here is a photograph of Jim and Walter Isaacson. This is a great friendship between the two, and Jim has had incredible leadership at the Aspen Institute, and we will talk a little bit more about that with Jim in a moment. This is his lovely bride, Connie Calaway, who I will also mention served as chair of the CMC Foundation Board. She and Jim are incredibly generous to our valley. This is their dog, Lacey, and Jim has shared with us this morning that there was a prayer event at CARE this morning. For those of you who know a little bit about CARE, the Colorado Animal Rescue organization up in Spring Valley. Their dog came from Lacey, and I think it is very fair to say that Jim is the greatest, most staunch supporter of CARE in its history, and certainly it would not exist were it not for Jim and his leadership. And you might know these folks in this photograph. Jim also supports Thunder River Theater. How many of you have been to an event at Thunder River? So you also have Jim to thank for this legacy, and here he is interviewing President and Rosalind Carter. This was a year or so ago. It was just before Mr. Carter announced that he was ill, and has since really made a miraculous recovery, so quite a humanitarian. Third Street Center, I imagine all of you have been to some event at the Third Street Center. How many? Yep. Another one, a place where Jim has his fingerprints, and certainly the true Unitarian congregation as well, who meets there on Sundays. Valley View Hospital. This is the Calaway Young Cancer Center. And I think one of the great stories that Jim tells is that when he twisted Bob Young, who's the chairman and founder of Alpine Banks, to collaborate with him on funding the cancer center, he said, "You need to put your name on it, Bob, because it needs to be known who is supporting these incredible organizations, so it creates an example for others." Habitat for Humanity, incredible. I'm certain every one of us has been to a Habitat store, right, in the Roaring Fork Valley. Yes? Right, yep. Most of our furniture comes from there, so another one of the incredible organizations that Jim and Connie support. And that leads us to CMC. We are incredibly grateful for Jim and Connie's support over the years. They are some of our most major benefactors, and Jim continues to be an important advisor to me as the president. This has parlayed into a number of different things. Jim has married his relationship with the Aspen Institute and Colorado Mountain College in a couple of different ways. One is that he has recruited and helped organize something we call the Board of Overseers at the college. This is an advisory, voluntary group of some pretty distinguished folks. We know who all lives in our valley, right? Former secretaries of labor and Fed bank officers and other folks, and they are here for us, right? And so now they're being put to incredibly good volunteer use to help us. So Jim helped create the Colorado Mountain College Board of Overseers, and he was also the very first to receive an honorary degree from Colorado Mountain College. And last year, Walter and I had the great opportunity. There is one thing that's very difficult to do, and that is to surprise Jim. And Walter and I sort of co-conspired to write a little bit of the story that we're going to talk to you about today, and that is that we published an article in Philanthropy magazine, and we presented it to Jim. For those of you who might have had time on the porch with Jim, we surprised him on the porch with a copy of the magazine that has his article in it. You can find that online if you have an interest in it at some point. So with that, I would like to turn the mic to Jim for a few questions for you all to benefit from his incredible legacy. And the first one I would just ask is, tell the audience in your own words, Jim, how did you become a philanthropist?
Well, thank you, and I want to say how honored I am to be interviewed by this great lady, the president of CMC. And also I want to say something about this young man, Altai. He has really touched my heart. He's an outstanding guy, and I think a wonderful member of our community. I was born in 1931. My mother and father were tenant farmers, poor blue-collar people on a farm, tenant farm, in the middle of the Depression, and in a little town called Glenwood, Texas. And I was their first child, and neither one of my parents ever graduated from high school, as a matter of fact. And I was the first one in my family that I know of to ever go to college. I went, something in my instincts, I wanted to step up and work hard and accomplish something. And I went down to the University of Texas. I never will forget going down there on the Greyhound bus, carrying a bag, my clothes in one arm, and my cat in a box on another one. And I was able to find a place to live there where I could keep my cat, and she became the house cat for all the other guys lived there. But anyway, I graduated from the University of Texas at a very early age with a bachelor's degree and a doctorate degree in law. But I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. So I went in the business of exploring for oil and gas in Texas. I was looking for oil and gas properties. And I discovered a very high quality but small oil field when I was 24 years old that turned out to be one of the two most important business things happened to me in my 40 years in the oil business because it kept me from having to go down and accept a job and being a lawyer. I got to be an entrepreneur. It supported me for a few years to get going. By the time I was about 40, I've been married twice, both times to wonderful women. No, I still love them both. My first wife was 19 years old when we got married while we were students. I was 21. And the reason we got married is because we both, by happenstance, had been raised as Southern Baptists and taught that even if you were in love and you wanted to practice outside of being married, you're going to go straight to hell. That's what we were taught. So we were in love and we wanted to practice, so we got married. And 2 or 3 years later, we had my two sons. I have two sons. I made them the same night. They're twins. I said that in front of my first wife one time. She said, "Yes, Jim, but I had something to do with it, too." I said, "You sure as heck did have something to do with it." And when I was about 34, 35, I caused the marriage to end because I acted unfaithfully towards, and I was forgiven a year or so later by her, and she and I are still dear friends. She's now 83 years old. And anyway, I got my business going, made a good bit of money. When I was about 40 years old, I was a single man in Houston. living in a magnificent mansion that I owned. I paid $5 million for the house then. It sold a couple of years ago, according to my son, for $17 million. Beautiful place. Had two housekeepers and a part-time man take care of the cars and swimming pool. It was a ridiculous thing for a single man to be living like that. Had a private airplane, big sailboat. All this was being spent on myself. About that time in my life, I was getting over being a Southern Baptist, recovering from it and recovered. And I had become a Unitarian, a secular humanist, so to speak. And I got to talking to my minister at that time and friends about the fact that here I am living this life that's ridiculous, and I was not as happy as I thought I'd be. So somebody put in my head, and I started believing it, my minister and some other friends, I believe, that I was not doing the right thing with my ability to be a successful entrepreneur. The ability to make money, to spend it on myself is not right. The thing that you need to do is to continue to be an entrepreneur, because I am an incurable entrepreneur, still at the age of 85. And I started at that time downsizing how I spent money, less and less on myself, and more I was giving to the common good. Now here, 45 years later, I live in a nice but modest home in Carbondale. I drive, my wife drives a couple of used cars that we have. I don't spend hardly anything on myself, except I like to go out to lunch every day and have somebody come see me at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, sit on the porch and have a glass of real inexpensive but good wine. And I have been part of, in my years of being an entrepreneur, I've been part of the beginning of 4 firms that grew into big businesses. I've had 4 home runs in my life. And all of them my sons have been involved with one way or the other. 3 of them in natural resource, oil and gas exploration, building big wind farms, we discovered a large deposit of lithium for electric car batteries in Argentina, and now we have a big company there. Maybe the number 1 producer of lithium in the world, certainly number 2 if not 1, big company. And the 4th company was a not natural resource business. I just happened to get into it with my son James and made a lot of money excuse me just a second. What? Yes. In building a software company for the legal industry, which he founded with a geeky guy who came to see him one day. And later, about 10 years, we sold that company for $320 million. They sold it. A quick story about that. I made about $8 million on that transaction, personally. And I have an assistant that works for me at my home, takes care of my accounting, business, and so forth. And so she and I've been making up a list of what I was going to do with that $8 million when I got it. And I had a list of things, right up to the college, shelter, a big check on the cancer center. I think $2 million went to the hospital for that event. Habitat, about 17 nonprofits in the United States and in this valley, including Aspen Institute. And about halfway through writing those checks, I said to my assistant, Gene, now we need $8 million. I said, we need to set aside a little bit of this money for me, for Jim. She said, of course, how much? I said, I think $50. And I said, I need some new socks from Walmart. So she took the $50, went to Walmart, and bought me some socks, and had enough money to come home with a bag of underwear for me. And that is all the money out of that $8 million that was used for Jim Calaway. It's the happiest, wonderful payoff I've had. I have found, I owned a condo in Aspen for about 10 years before we moved to Carbondale. When we moved up here full time, I had a condo before that I used to visit and work at the Aspen Institute, which is one of the loves of my life. It's been my adult education. And I had a condo in Aspen. I assumed that Connie and I, when we sold the oil company and we wanted to move up here to be close to the Institute, and she'd be close to music and mountains and so forth, that we would buy a house in Aspen. I could have afforded it, but I got there and it's too glitzy for me. I didn't want to own a $10, $20 million house. I didn't want to own a private airplane. I wanted to live modestly so I could give to the common good. So we moved down, went to Carbondale, bought a lot there at River Valley Ranch, built a nice modest house for less money than I sold that little bitty condo for in Aspen, and just been so happy doing it. Now, I know I'm taking a long time talking, but I want to say this, that I am clearly an incurable entrepreneur. There are not many old farts 85 years old who are still active in creating businesses. I am. I've had 4 home runs in my life. I've given away nearly all the money that I made, over $40 million, I guess. And I've loved doing every penny of it that way. I'm going to give away everything when I pass. So it's kind of because my sons are well-to-do. They don't need to inherit anything from me. They have plenty of money of their own. I want to give to the common good. And, but I'm still an incurable guy working hard, trying to build new businesses. I'm trying to build 2 right now. Because I really want to have at least 5 home runs in my life. I love living in this community. I love the way I live. I wish I could see better. Wasn't crippled, but my mind is still clear. And I'm sorry it took so long to answer that one question.
You covered several questions, so I can move on to a few more. But I would say, just to sum up, to have transformed from an entrepreneur who uses the benefit for himself to someone who gives to others, you also transitioned from what I would call the oil and gas industry to sustainable energy. So we've seen that. So that transformation happened as it relates to being an entrepreneur and incubating an idea that returns on the investment. Maybe I could ask you a little bit. We heard sort of the lineup of the organizations in the Valley that you support. Tell us why they are the organizations you support. What process do you go through to give of your time and your treasure to those organizations?
Carrie, that's an excellent question. I've become, not with my own advertising, but I've just become known as a well-known philanthropist. Some of the articles that have been written about me have been published around the country on AP. I get requests for money from South Texas, from North Dakota, from Massachusetts for the other day. But I have picked the 17 nonprofits that I support them every time I can. I'm getting ready to make a $1.5 million distribution to those 17 nonprofits now. I am not taking on any new ones. I say that it would take something to really move my heart, because I've got plenty to do. Now, several of them are not big, like KD&K, our public radio station, Soper Sun in the local newspaper, Carbondale Council on Arts and Humanity. They're small but important to me. But so there are 100 places or more that I've had the opportunity to give. I get a request for money, I'd say at least once or twice a week, either in person or on phone or written, and I'm just not taking on anymore. And I've got to say, and pat myself on the back, that I am very happy with the choices that I've made. The big choices are the animal shelter, which has really touched my heart. It's one of the best animal shelters in the country now. We've taken in over 18,000 homeless dogs and cats and found homes, good homes for them, loved them. We're now doing dental care up there for all the animals we handle. I'm so very proud of that. I love the college. The college gave me the 11 acres of land up there to use to build a shelter on. What a wonderful location it is next to the vet tech school. We've become a teaching facility for the vet tech school. The hospital, the cancer hospital, has been very rewarding to Bob Young and our hearts. Habitat for Humanity has appealed to me. 3rd Street Senator I've been a major contributor there, and I intend to give some more. Thunder River Theater has been important to me because we helped build it and so forth, so did Bob Young join me there. The Aspen Institute, which have loved for 40 years and will love the rest of my life. The KIPP Special Schools. There's a big organization around America. They're not charter schools, they're KIPP Special schools. And I am very committed to that because I love education. I'd served on the board of 3 four-year universities before I moved here 21 years ago. And I knew there were a hell of a lot of community colleges in America, here 1,300 about. But I'd never been involved with one of them at all. Been involved with 4 universities, three of them, 4-year universities. And I met Colorado Mountain College. And it was a natural fit for me because I'm a liberal Democrat. I'm not interested in the rich people. I'm interested in the middle class and the people down at the bottom who are having trouble, particularly the blacks, the browns, the poor people, the middle class. That's where my heart is. And so that fit in perfectly with me. I fell in love with CMC because that's where it is. Rich kids like my grandchildren don't go to CMC. I'd like for them to, but they're not going there. They're going up east to expensive schools that I help pay for. So I love CMC. And KIPP charter schools, special schools, are doing a great job. And I wish you'd Google it, KIPP, Knowledge is Power Program. Google it sometime and read about them, please, because it's great. I give to them, I give to the American Civil Liberties Union. I'm a businessman, but I'm very sensitive about civil liberty rights of people, guaranteed by the Constitution, and that's what the ACLU does. The other, in the 17th one, is the Carter Center. I think President Carter, who I'm very close to, I was his chief fundraiser when he ran for re-election. We lost the election, but I was his chief fundraiser, and he and I are dear friends. And he is the greatest post-president that I think we've had in American history. Not the greatest the sitting president, but the greatest post-president. He's really served the world well, helping on medical problems, political problems, democracy around the world, and I give to support him. That sure is a long answer, wasn't it?
I think you covered it well. And what I love, if you think about all the organizations that Jim just listed, and you think about them before Jim got involved, and you think about them now. Soper's son was born, is now a thriving paper in Carbondale. There wasn't a Calaway Young Cancer Center. The Valley View was there, but the Cancer Center arm wasn't there. Colorado Mountain College has grown up to a 4-year degree granting institution. We have the Board of Overseers, which is pretty amazing. If you look at that list, I think Harvard, Yale, and even the University of Texas would be proud of the Board of Overseers. Jim reminds everyone that he's a University of Texas grad any chance he gets, so I figure I just get it out of the way. Right, Jim? So you think about the investment that Jim has made in his life and what those organizations have become and how they've grown up and how they've grown and evolved. I would say, what wisdom do you have to budding philanthropists? If you have a group of new philanthropists sitting in the audience and you're investing in them, you give them all, say, $1,000, and you say, here's what I would advise you to do to help organizations grow into their fullest potential. What advice would you give them?
Let me give a side answer to that, Carrie. Sometime in the last year, the sociology department of Harvard, which is a really good school if you can't go to the University of Texas, their sociology department did an extensive study on this question: what is the best source of happiness? And all they had to do is call me, and I just told them right away, but they studied it a long time. The answer is giving. Giving. And there are so many good causes. Somebody might become a giver and a philanthropist, and I hope there's some philanthropists coming about in this room here today, because it's a great way to live your life, but it is not worth a damn to own a private jet, a $30 million house in Aspen, an apartment in New York City, apartment home in California. That's not the way to live if you're a successful entrepreneur. The way to live is to be modest, live modestly, and give to the common good. To cherish all living creatures and be kind every day. That's the best way for you to live if you want to be an entrepreneur. And I think Altai's going to be an entrepreneur. I'll tell you that guy, something else. There are many things you can select to do. I just happen to love dogs and cats, so I've built a shelter. But there are many things that can be done. I want to say this. I've been approached by a woman recently who is well known in the community around in the Upper Valley. She is a fundraiser and raises money to give to the poor people of Haiti, which is the poorest country on the Western Hemisphere by far. Just got 800 people killed in this storm this week. And she raises money and goes down there and she runs a school for Haitian children. And she sort of tempted me to make her number 18. I'm thinking about it. If I have another home run, I'm probably going to include her.
So I'm going to bring one more question home for us, Jim. So the three places that I know that are the favorites for Jim to have lunch. The first one, and most commonly, we'll see him at his own table at the Poorhouse in Carbondale. But you might also find him at the hospital cafeteria at Valley View, which is a pretty good place to eat. And sometimes you'll see him up at our Spring Valley campus having lunch with students. Jim and Connie support a number of scholarships at the college. And one thing I love is that he sits and visits with our students that he's investing in. That's human capital development, certainly. So if you were giving any of our students that are in the audience, we've got high school students, college students, and lifelong students in the audience. If you were to give students any kind of advice, what would you give them?
I love that question. I guess it ought to be the last one. They go so long. Those of you who are part of not wealthy families, blue-collar families or poor people, you're so lucky to live in this district so you can go to CMC for 2 years and get an excellent education. We are working so hard up there, her leadership, to provide this to become a distinguished community college. There are 1,300 of them in the United States about. By independent ranking, Colorado Mountain College is ranked in the top 20 by 2 or 3 things that I've heard, rankings that I've known. Number 17 for retention education, a couple of others. They now, and so it's a great place to go. If you want to go somewhere and become an architect, you'd have to run off to Colorado School of Mines or wherever. But get your first 2 years in here. You can do it for about $10,000. and your folks give them a chance. You stay at home and help work a little bit with them. It gives them a chance to save some money to help take you off to get your graduate degrees. Now, CMC is now offering, I think, 5 bachelor's degrees. I can always name 4 of them. Education, in other words, if you want to be a school teacher, you do not have to go away. You can go to school at CMC, get a darn good bachelor's degree in education, business, nursing, environmental studies, and there's another one that I never can remember. And get their so, and there, if one ranking it came out, we're the cheapest bachelor's degree, the 3rd cheapest bachelor's degree in America, and the other 2 are Indian reservations. But you get a good, excellent degree. And this relationship that we're building with the Isaacson School, with the Aspen Institute and a joint venture, and other things, that's just what I'm personally working on. But Carrie's working on a lot of things. We're going to grow this into time that New York Times is going to write a big article about us someday, and they're going to say everybody ought to take a look at this, one of 1,300 community colleges out there in western Colorado. So I'm telling you, take advantage of it. That would really be an asset to help yourself and to help your parents.
All right. And I appreciate always the commercial from Jim. It's pretty nice to have somebody like Jim on your side. We do always welcome all of you to the college, whatever your choice of study might be. We launched our 50th anniversary this week, and we will do that over the next year. We started classes October 2nd of 1967. So over the coming year, we will lead into the 50th anniversary, leading into October 2nd of 2017. So we love for you to be a part. It will be an incredible journey, and to think about a little college in the mountains that was founded 50 years ago, and to think about what it has become today. 11 campuses, 12,000 square miles, 2 and 4 year degrees, and to Jim's point, the 3rd most affordable, high value bachelor's degree in the country. We're really very proud, and we're certainly proud of one of our most distinguished philanthropists. And I will say personally, it is an absolute joy and pleasure to spend time with Jim. I show up at the porch most of the times I'm called to it when I'm in town. And I will say that I hope when I am going on 86, and if my sight and other faculties are as Jim describes, declining, I certainly hope my mind is as sharp as his, because there is something about this man that's sitting on the stage and what he's done for our valley. I hope you all comprehend that. I hope you'll take a little slice away from his advice and do something major, like Jim has done over the years that he's been in this valley. So it's been a pleasure to interview you today, and thanks to Altai and the organizers of GlenX. This has been great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for giving a round of applause for Dr. Carrie Hauser and Jim and Connie Calaway. 18,000 homes for furry family members. I felt good when I adopted one, but this guy found home for 18,000 furry family members. So, and one of my takeaways I got was giving is the #1 thing that will provide happiness, which is true. It doesn't matter if it's a little at the Salvation Army red buckets at the outside the store, it means giving $40 million away. Yeah, giving, it always feels good. So thank you for that, Mr. Calaway. And I thought his #1 advice would be to wear socks. Do you guys see these socks? These turquoise, pink, purple polka dot socks? Walmart, I said. That's where you can get those at Walmart? All right, I'm going to Walmart after this. They were a gift. Okay, well, one more round of applause for Dr. Carrie Hauser and Mr. Jim Calaway. Can I have all the presenters come up? Morgan Chaloon, Michelle Lefay, all the presenters come up. We want to award you guys with something here. And then we're going to be giving a scholarship away after this. So, and then after that, there's going to be a little break. We'll go and commingle and check out the exhibit hall. And there's a lot of cool stuff out there. And then we'll come back for session number 2 of GlenX, second annual event. Come on over here, Michelle. We want to give you guys some flowers, some beautiful flowers to thank you for your time today. This is Gwen Hill and her amazing guitar skills. Let's give one more round of applause for our presenters today, everybody. All right, we're going to go ahead and give away a scholarship now. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
So, yeah, they took the photo. Oh, Katrina? Yeah. Let's come back out here for another photo.